Hell yeah, and welcome to episode 67 of the Temple Bard podcast with me, Jim Wynn, and Philip Noone. We're joined today by George Murphy. George, welcome and thanks for coming.
Jim, thanks very much for having us. Philip, great to see you again.
Great to see you.
You're still alive and well.
Still kicking about.
Yeah.
So you two know each other well anyway from Eurostar days?
We go back to... how long?
We go
2004, 2003.
2003. So the first time I ever met George was in the car park of the Loughrea Hotel down in Galway in December 2003. It was when they announced the wild cards.
Jeez, that's like Sister of something stuff.
It was
wearing your blue t-shirt.
It was when they announced the wild cards for Eurostar. So what happened was we got through in the preliminary rounds.
Yes.
So I was in the Longford editions, you were in the Dublin editions.
Yeah.
And then there were three wild cards, which was Laura Brophy,
Final Four, and Chris Doran.
Oh, what? the winner of the whole thing, Chris Doran. Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, who was the other one? And Laura Brophy, she's gone on to do all right for herself.
She has. I don't know if we're allowed. She's Lyra, but I don't think she likes to associate Laura Brophy with being like.
But sure, I don't like to associate myself with Eurostar for 20 odd years. That's all people.
You can't change your past, folks. You can't change your past.
It's mad. Like, so every time I go on for an RTE interview, you know what I mean? It's like, so George, take us back to that moment where you sang Raglan Road on Eurostar and everybody thought you were like Luke Kelly. It's like, God, like I'm here to tell you about my new album and what I've been up to for the last couple of months. You know what I mean? And you're trying to bring me back to when I was 17. But it is. It's the natural thing that just happens.
People put you into this. People project that version of you as forever. Like.
Exactly, and you're pigeonholed with that. And look, don't get me wrong. It's it's something I don't mind talking about, especially with somebody like Philip, because it's a memory we both share together. But sometimes when you're going on to something, whether it's TV or radio or whatever, and you're trying to promote your new song or your new tour, you want the focus to be on that. Yeah. You don't want to be going straight in, so tell us when you were 17 and you sang Raglan Road. Like, just...
It's a bit like, if anyone who's you go on the session every weekend when you're young, and people end up telling the same stories over and over again, after a while it just gets numbing to you. Like, you can't be asked the same questions over and over again. Yeah. It's just like people are putting you into this. People can't get past this version of you, like, and it's
the only thing I will say about it, right? It was probably like, in terms of where we were in time, there was no such thing as camera phones. Like, you were still signing autographs.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't walk down Grafton Street in 2004.
No, it was fairly fucking Beatlemania kind of stuff when you were on that show, because it was the biggest thing.
But you see, it was pre-social media.
Yeah.
Everything was in the papers. There was no camera phones. So all you were was what people were seeing on TV every Sunday night. And I mean, like, every Sunday there was 1 million people tuning into that show. Like, Ireland was waiting, because you had Pop Stars, right, which was the first one. That was Nadine Coyle. And then the second year was the first Eurostar.
Yeah.
Which was Brian Ormond, Mickey Hart, Michael Leonard, Simon Casey. So that was the first one. So that was where like the big kind of drumming of interest was. But they didn't have like a Eurostar tour because it had just kind of found its feet then.
Well, they didn't know what they wanted to do with it yet, you know what I mean?
Shin Will were still kind of figuring, but by the second season,
haven't figured out all the revenue streams.
By the second year of Eurostar, which was this year, it was fucking pandemonium.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember actually seeing the first year and saying to myself, I'm going to audition for that next year. And then I forgot all about it. And then I happened to be in town that morning. And I was going out with a girl who actually doesn't live too far from here. She was from Bray. And it was like the first time that she'd ever stayed over in my gaff. Now, my man and dad being old-fashioned, two of us weren't allowed to share a room or any of that crack. So she's in one room, I'm in another room. Following morning, I'm bringing her into town so she can get her bus back to Bray. Dropped her at the bus stop, and I says, right, see you later, I'm off. And I went to head off, and then she rings me a few minutes later. She says, I'm after missing my bus. I said, how did you miss your bus? It dropped you at the bus stop. And she says, yeah, I ran into the shop to get smokes. I came back out of the shop and the bus was pulling off. There's not going to be another one for an hour. I was like, for fuck's sake. She's like, will we go and get a bit of breakfast? I'm going to ring the job and tell them I'm going to be late. I was like, yeah, okay, grand. Went and got a bit of breakfast for her, and then a mate of mine I went to school with went walking down the road with a guitar on his back. Like, where the fuck is he going at 9 o'clock in the morning? Like, guitar in his back. Ran out, was like, oi, I'm going over for this audition. I was like, that's that fuck. I says, I'm going over to the show as well. So I left her there finishing the brekkie or whatever. And I went over and joined the queue. And it's mad. Like, I still stand by it to this day. I didn't think I was like the best singer since sliced bread. But I was an attention-seeking little bollocks and wanted to get me face on TV, be like, how are you, ma, whatever. And, you know, I thought I could sing, but I didn't think I was the be-all and end-all. But I think, you know, in singing Raglan Road, it was probably a masterstroke.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, all the lads wanted to be fecking Robbie Williams or whatever, and all the girls wanted to be Britney Spears, and then all of a sudden, in I come singing a fecking Luke Kelly song, and, like, you know, immediately the judges were interested, you know, that way. So, and that's kind of stood to me, I suppose, like, to this day, is that
Take the road less travelled a bit.
Yeah, I think exactly. And because that to me is more rewarding, you know what I mean? It's like we were talking about it there before the camera was rolling. I mean, Philip's doing, he's about doing loads of gigs every week, and fair play, and it's nice to be making a living out of it, but I done the Temple Bar scene for years, and I got to a point where I was like, if I have to sing Bleeding Grace one more time today, or if I have to sing Dirty Old Town, or The Wild, yeah. But, like, you know, and I've nothing against the songs, and I actually quite enjoy singing them when it's more on my terms.
Without a doubt.
And I finally decided, you know what, tonight I'm going to put that into the set list. But if I'm doing it from 2 until 4, and then I leave, and then I have another gig from 5 until 7, and the gigs are like a carbon copy of each other, I just get brain damage from the thing. I was like, I can't be doing this, you know. And thankfully, you know, I've got to a point where I'm kind of doing stuff that I want to do as opposed to doing stuff that I have to do, if that makes sense, you know.
Yeah, it's a funny sliding door moment, like you're saying. You dropped your girlfriend off at the time, and if she hadn't missed that bus, you would never have gone to the thing. Like, you never would have saw your mate. You'd forgotten about it. You said.
Yeah.
Well,
what's for you won't pass you.
Yeah.
No, well, that's I do think
you still had the decision to do it or not, but
yeah, but I think I was always destined, or at least wouldn't have been for the lack of effort, to try and get involved in something in terms of you know,
entertainment
stage. Yeah, because I was in college at the time, studying acting and theatre studies and drama and stuff like that, and that's kind of a box for me that's still gone kind of relatively unticked. I've done a few bits. I've been in the Abbey Theatre for a play, and I've done a one-man play, musical play about a Dublin docker.
You were in a film.
Yeah, but that was kind of, yeah, the Troubles, a Dublin story. So that's all about the IRA. But the guy who directed that got on to me, and he asked just for songs. He was like, I need a few songs just for my movie, for the soundtrack. And I says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the songs if you let me do a cameo in it. So we kind of wrote in this little scene where I'm arguing with one of the lead roles in it, you know what I mean? But it was cool because it gives me something now that if ever I'm pitching myself for a role.
Of course, you've a wee bit of a story reel or whatever.
You have it on your IMDb or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's in the resume.
Absolutely.
So what, as a kid, like, were you always like putting on plays or singing or doing stuff like trying to entertain? Or being the centre of attention? Or
I suppose so. I mean, my dad's a singer and he still sings to this day. And we share the same name as well. So, like, I've had it for years where people turn up expecting it to be my dad's gig. You know, and vice versa. People turn up to his gig thinking it's mine. Sorry, love, you're good, but you're not as good as your dad. You know, one of them, and off they go. But, no, I mean, I suppose one of the memories that kind of sticks with me, recording memory, would be every Christmas time. Wherever my nana and granddad went for Christmas dinner, like, all the aunties and uncles took turns, like their sons and daughters would take turns hosting them for Christmas dinner, and whoever took the turn that year, that's where all the families would pour to at the end of the evening.
Right.
And it would just go round in a circle, and somebody might tell a joke. Most people sang a song, and I would sing a song as well in the latter years, but in my early stages it would be like impressions. Kind of, I was trying to do the whole kind of Connor sketches or Al Forden kind of thing.
Man, you want to hear him doing impressions?
What was your go-to back then?
Eamon Dunphy's unbelievable.
Yeah, Dunphy. Well, you see,
got it out of
you have to make me lose character then. So I'm here on the Temple Bar podcast with Jim and Philip. Now, Jim's a good player. Philip's a great player. Philip could have played for Manchester United, But he decided to go into the music industry instead. And yeah, so stuff like that. No, I haven't done it for a while.
Jim left his wife for a young one.
I'll tell you what his name was. Rod Little.
Rod. I'll tell you who it was. Very good, yeah.
That's a perfect Dunphy. That's
no,
one of the best I've heard.
It's funny, I was on the Late there a few weeks ago, and Connor's sketches was... I can't think of his surname. That's it, Connor Moore. So Connor Moore was on, sound fella, and one of the guys who's kind of involved in representing me for this new tour idea, brazen as hell, James Kelly is his name. He just went straight over to him. He goes, he does a good Eamon Dunphy and you do a good Roy Keane. The two of you come out here, we're getting a video. And I'm like, James, you can't do that. There's etiquette to these things. You can't just run over and just pull the man up like a... Anyway, it was funny. We went outside. I think Connor was even a little bit... He was like, oh, here we go, I'm doing this. And then he heard me doing Dunphy. He was actually like... He can do that. This will work.
Pleasantly
you know what I mean?
surprised.
So we done a bit of a thing about Dunphy and Keane, and well, it was actually about the band, my band, the Rising Suns, going on tour, and Dunphy and Keane talking about it, and me saying, yeah, they're a good band, they're not a great band, and Roy comes in and, don't know about a good band, Eamon. They're just doing their job.
Yeah. That's a great kind of promo thing as well, even for
absolutely.
Yeah, because if you can put we talked about with Kieran Halton who was on last week. If you have when you can put comedy and music together, it's like
it's a great thing.
Pushes things a bit forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I remember, this is one day. I remember how hard you were working around this time, or how hard you were being made work, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because before the Sony deal, was it Dream to Dream or was
Dream to Dream? Yeah, that was the first album.
That was the first album. Was Dream to Dream.
Yeah.
So before the Sony deal, you were on the road. The band was on the road. I think Sparky was playing with you.
That's right. Yeah, he's still doing that.
He's still in Temple Bar. Yeah. He's still. Yeah, I think he's still in the Temple Bar as far as I know.
Yeah. Sparky, he's a great songwriter, man. I still perform some of the songs that I wrote with Sparky, but it's brilliant. Yeah.
But I remember we did one of the Eurostar tour gigs was in Dundalk.
Yeah.
And I remember me and you were sharing a room, and I remember because I had just landed up that morning or whatever, and came in, and you were just panned out in the bed because you were after doing the Den that morning, and you had to be there since 6 o'clock or something. No, with Dustin.
No, with Dustin.
He was on with Dustin that morning.
I aged myself down.
Because I remember going into the room to leave me stuff there, and he was just panned across the bed, sound asleep. And I didn't want to wake him because I hadn't seen him in a few weeks, and I didn't want to wake him. I was like, I'll see him later. And I was like, George is in the room. They were like, no, he's in the Den. I was like, no, he's up there asleep now. He's panned out in the bed up there a minute ago. We're like, he's in the Den there an hour ago.
I was only talking to mates there the other day, funnily enough, about that thing, right? So when you're on the Den, right, they have the camera in front of you like you do here now, right? But they have the chairs built into the floor. So there's no legs, right? So they're sitting on the floor holding the puppets up, right? But they can see the monitors from the camera to know how far they can put their hands up without their arms showing. You know what I mean? So they have to keep reminding you to talk to the puppets
and not down
and not to look down at them. But they're right there, you know what I mean? And you see their faces talking to you, you're making eye contact with the puppy, you know? But they went to a commercial break, and he just takes Dustin off his arm and puts him down. I was like, I'm going to the toilet, I'm going for a coffee, or I'm going for something.
And there's Dustin dead on the ground.
There's you see the dead body.
I was like, you can't. You're ruining a fucking childhood here, man. You need to take that thing with you, you know what I mean? No, and he left, there's just me. No, man. I was like, yeah, take that with you.
Oh, that's a filter.
I was tempted to pick him up and give him my own stuff, you know what I mean? But,
Don the Dustin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's mad.
I can see how that would be weird. Like,
of course, because you grew up with
them, everything just hung on.
I would have thought they all had to sit under a table or something. They would have done something to.
Well, it's like that on Podge and Rog. Oh Jesus, man, they went to.
I went to see Podge and Rog in RTE. The girl I was with at the time got tickets to be in the audience, like.
Yeah.
And I remember it being.
He was probably on it.
You might have.
No, so I was due to be on it in January, and I think it was 2006, 2007 or whatever, and they penciled.
Was this a scare at bedtime?
No, it was the scare at bed. No, it wasn't the scare. It was the one where they just sat. Remember they had Keith Duffy on and Kenny Cadonna, and they'd sit at the. I can't remember what the name of the show was, but I think it was after the scare at bedtime ones. But they were doing it live. right, every other week. But the one week that they done as a pre-record was the Christmas special, right? Now, I wasn't to be on the Christmas special. I was booked in to do it in January. And I got a call like the day before Christmas Eve, or maybe 2 days before Christmas Eve, I can't quite remember. And they said, George, any chance you'd come on and do the Christmas special? And I was like, I mean, like, this is one of the most watched of the year, so like I'd love to be on it, but I was curious, like, why when I'm
so late?
Yeah, when I'm supposed to be on in January, and they were like, "Oh, we'll have you on for this one instead of the one in January," and I was like, "Okay, but, like, can I ask why?" And they said, "Okay, look, we're gonna be straight with you. We're supposed to have Shane McGowan on,
right?
But nobody can get a fucking hold of him. They don't know where he is, and we're worried that he's not going to show up. Is there any chance you'd come and we'd want you to sing a song and do the interview instead of McGowan?" Or whatever. And I says, yeah. I says, look, that's no problem. I said, and look, I know I go on and he's ripped the piss out of me. Like, I'm thick-skinned enough to be okay with that. I said, however, I don't want to come on and have the piss ripped out of me because I'm just there as McGowan's replacement. Because that'll make me look like a gobshite. Like I said, like, you can make me look like a gobshite in every other way. But I said, it's bad form if you do that. And they said, no, look, you're doing us a favour. We won't go there. We'll just rip the piss out of you over being a Northside scumbag, robbing cars. And I was like, yeah. I says, yeah, happy days.
Standard Podgin Rush.
Yeah, I says, that'll do, right? I arrive over, into hair and makeup, into the hot seat, being interviewed, and who strolls in the fucking door? Shame. Right? I'm like, well, this is fucking awkward. So yeah, they said they interviewed both of us. They ended up just we don't know what else to do, so they just put me and McGowan there, and they had a chat to the two of you. To the two of us, yeah. So
did you understand the word he said?
Were you translating for them?
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No. It's, you know, something.
So I have him. I have a friend. Like, I have him on my sitting room wall. Like, he's a hero of mine. Like, but
yeah, he's a legend.
But you wouldn't get a word out of him. Like.
No. Well, I mean, like, he's such. You don't write those bloody songs.
No, of course not.
Like, he was an incredibly intelligent man, but like a lot of the time he would have been intoxicated, as people know. But on this particular day, he turned up. They interviewed the two of us. But what got me was, and you try explaining this to people that don't get TV, right? Because every other week went out live. This was a pre-record, so they were able to do edits after the fact, right? And they done it in such a way whereby they asked me a question, I'm answering the question. It pans to the camera, pans to me, and I'm chatting away. When the camera pans back to them, they're fucking fast asleep. And I'm still just so anyway, and it wasn't like that when I was there on the day. You know what I mean?
That's a hatchet job.
I was like,
that's a hatchet job.
But then they went into it. They went into then the scared at bedtime buzz where the two of them are asleep in bed, and then one of them sits up and says, "Oh my God!" And then the other one sits up and says, "Rog, what's wrong with you?" I was having a nightmare. He goes, "What do you mean? What happened?" "We were interviewing that George Murphy idiot." It's like, right. Oh, not him. Oh, yeah, him. How did it go? Well, it went a little something like this. And then they just straight into the fucking interview. Oh, man. They went. But
that's a hatchet job.
Yeah, no, but you have to be able to fucking laugh at these things. And it was very funny. And I still, to this day, get me mates ripping the piss out of me about it.
Couldn't do Podgin Rog today, don't think. You couldn't do it anymore.
With how QT.
Especially on TV. You can do it on the internet, obviously, but I don't think
I'm offended.
I'm offended.
I'm
not for myself, but on behalf of somebody else.
Yeah.
Even the Rubber Bandits in their early days wouldn't get away with some of the stuff.
No.
Like that.
But wasn't it better back then when you didn't have to be as fucking...
Well, I think it's kind of contributed to the death of TV in a way, because the stuff that on the internet you can still do all that, and in fact some people might say it's swung too far the other way now.
Yeah, true.
But the TV kind of cut off their own nose to spite their own face, you know, by trying to keep too many people happy. They kind of sterilise their whole vibe.
Well, it's this. I've even noticed it when I've been invited on for things where, you know, it's like they'll make sure they've X amount of women, X amount of men, X amount of white people, X amount of black people, X amount, and it's like they're not necessarily picking the right person for the job. They're picking the right people either ethnically or gender-wise or whatever. Just to tick
representation.
Just to tick all the boxes and say, now nobody can give out or anything. You know what I mean? It's not the way you should go.
There'd be one person giving out maybe, like, and that's what I mean. If you cater to the loud few, then you kind of ruin it for the
That's why.
quiet
That's why when Tommy
majority.
Tiernan gets on the Late Late Show for 10 minutes, the country goes mad. He does enough in 10 minutes to just to annoy everybody.
Slap everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
George, 2000. I'm going to say 2008. You moved to New York.
I did. It was a little bit later than that. I think it was about 2010.
Was it 2010?
I done New Zealand first. So I'd had the first 2 albums out. First one went really well. Kind of, singing all the Irishy folk stuff and working with the Dubliners and
Christy.
And it just brilliant. And the things were going from strength to strength. And then I kind of sat down and had a meeting with Sony. I'll never forget it. Like they kind of said to me, they said, look, George, we feel like we've kind of got 2 artists here that are kind of closing in on the same market.
Okay.
And they said one of them is you, one of them is Damien Dempsey, and you are both kind of doing that folk thing. They said, we think it might be advisable to kind of send you in a different direction because you're not just all about folk music. You love your rock and roll, you love your indie stuff, you love this, you love that, and let's kind of try that out. And I was open, like I was like, these guys know all the answers. I'm only new to this, so let's give it a try. And I went over to London, recorded my second album. The guy that done all of the Cure's albums of the Manic Street Preachers, Dido, even done a U2 album. I was like, right, I'm in good hands here. And they made a really feckin' strong record. But the problem was they released it to like a nation of people who had taken to me as this, and now I'm giving them this. Yeah. And it didn't work. It bombed. It done better than my first album in terms of radio play because the stuff was very radio friendly. But when it bombed, I got dropped from the label. I was like, I don't know what to kind of do here. I put together a kind of like a rescue album. I was like, let's kind of salvage something here. I got into studio with the Dubliners and done an album with them. Christy Dignam was a guest on it, and we brought the album to Sony, and they passed on releasing it. And I was kind of sat there and it was like in limbo. I was like, what the hell? I didn't play a guitar, wasn't really writing songs.
Was this before the streaming and all? Was this?
Yeah, kind
of.
Yeah,
this would have been 2007, 2008.
Yeah, and then the band that was playing with me, they were all kind of hired hands from Sony and stuff like that. And now there's no gigs being booked. There's no offer of releasing this third album. I'm sitting on this, which I thought was a really good record with the Dubliners and Christy Dignam on it, and I can't get it released. I was like, what'll I do? So I was like, fuck it, I'm going travelling. So I went, after doing New Zealand for a while, I ended up over in New York. I brought the album with me, and I just kind of went knocking on doors to like Irish venues and Irish promoters and festivals and stuff over there.
Were you doing anything? Would you do anything with Steve Duggan over there? Did you ever do anything?
Yes, I did. You relate to Steve? I know he's a Cavan man.
So I'm not related to him. Steve's dead. Did you know that?
Yeah, I only found, I was in New York a few months ago now, should I say. And I only found out when I went into Paddy Riley's that he passed away. But
a legendary man.
Yeah,
like a real legend.
I used to go in and he'd say, "Do you ever tell you about the time I met Dolly Parton?" and he'd take out a book. He'd have a book and pictures of him and Dolly Parton. Yeah. There's me and Dolly.
No. He's
which one was you, Steve?
he is a living legend, Jim.
Yeah.
So mad. He was
when
married.
I heard the impression there, I'm sure I've seen him somewhere.
Bobby Moore's
Moore's ex-wife Tina Moore. He married her.
Yeah, you told me about that before.
This man was. Some of the stories I've heard about this boy over the years.
He was some dude, and he knew he knew how to kind of pay as well. You know that way. Yeah. So will you give us $250 for that, Steve? I'll give you $240. You know what I mean? You haven't, man. I've never heard the likes. Yeah. So Steve had. In fairness, Steve got me a lot of gigs when I was first on the scene over there. But it's mad how things kind of go full circle then, because it was being in America that brought me to the attention of the people that were representing the High Kings. And then, I was just doing the pub scene for years. I came home, I was doing the Temple Bar scene again. And I was kind of this is my lot kind of thing. I'm doing the daily gigs or whatever, and keeping the wolf from the door. And then Martin Fury, who's Finbar Fury's son, was leaving the High Kings. And
this was 2018, was it?
Yeah, and they were looking for a replacement. And I got the phone call and went in and met them, and they asked me would I join. And this is the weird thing, right? I had an unbelievable experience touring with the Eye Kings, like, you know, the tour buses with like your own bed and fridge and bathroom, like it was like a house on wheels, class, rolling into different cities all around the States and all sold out shows and, you know, just incredible experiences. But it was Groundhog Day. It was the same gig every night in every town, you know, and
It was like you moved the Temple Bar gigs to America.
To America.
In a way.
to a degree,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, it sounds disrespectful for me to say that because I really did enjoy it, and I'm grateful for the platform that it gave me and the opportunity to be on big stages again, which I thought was an opportunity that wasn't going to come my way again, because I'd had that when I was 17, 18, 19, and it was gone then for 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, and now I have it back again. So it's not that I want to be knocking it, but it's like at the same time, I'm only really happy musically when I'm being creative and when I'm being spontaneous. And I didn't feel like I was being either of those things.
Yeah, when you're going through the motions, it just kind
Yeah.
of takes it.
So well, I got enough money together to buy a house, and I was like, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting with my man, dad, and my friends and going, "Are you fucking mental? Like, you're making more money and getting more exposure and more credibility like now than you have for years and years, and you're going to walk away from it." And I was like, it's driving me insane.
Well, you have to do what's best for your peace of mind, you know.
100%.
Money,
But also,
the
like, I
money and
missed,
stuff like that takes
I
you so
missed
far.
friends' weddings and stuff like that. Like, the one thing that I always loved about being involved in music was that, you know, if somebody asked me to do a gig on such and such a day, I'd look it up, and, you know, if something is on that day,
Yeah.
I'll just make sure that I'm not working that day. No, can't do that day. I'm going to something else, you know.
Yeah.
But when you're answerable to a label that are putting you out on tour and they're sending you to America for 6 weeks and they don't care what you've got going on in that 6 weeks, you're contractually obliged to be here. That's a different thing. And then it starts feeling like work.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to feel like work. I wanted music to feel like something that my granddad used to always say, find something you love doing and you'll never work a day in your life.
You know what that reminds me of? I watched a thing on Netflix recently about Gordon Ramsay. I'd followed him for a year, and he opened this big restaurant in London with 5 restaurants in the top of the tallest tower in London. And he was saying, he got out afterwards and he was like talking to his wife, and he was talking about how, I'll sleep tonight. I can't believe we got to the end of it. It's all over. And then he gets a phone call. He says, now you're in Washington at 7 a.m. in the morning, and we've got 10 meetings on and off. And you just see his face go.
There's one Barney McKenna, the Dubliners all went over to the States for a tour, you know, and they'd done the first 3 or 4 gigs, and they were on the lash and everything like that, and they were wrecked, like, and the next day they had to, like, a 6 or 7 hour drive to the next city or whatever like that, and Barney gets showed, like, the itinerary or whatever, you know, and there's a list of, like, let's say it's 20 gigs, and Barney's moving on to the next day from where they are, and then he's looking down, and he looks up and he goes, they don't expect us to do all the gigs, do they?
No, you pick your favourite 3 there, Barney.
Serious. You know what I mean? But the honesty behind it, like, they don't think we're gonna do them all, do they? We'll do whichever ones are just brilliant. But that kind of thing of just, you know, do what you want to do, and it is lovely that, you know, we're making a living out of it, and, you know, I can't knock it in that sense, but I wish sometimes I was more financially driven, because if it was more about money all the time, I think I'd know how to go and make it. But I'd rather be making good music and good memories, and you know, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. You can't take the bank balance with you, you know what I mean?
I'm a hungry bastard.
Yeah, but like, you need to make money too. Like, you need to pay bills. It's all well and good me saying that, and I'm at least I'm keeping the wolf from the door. Yeah. But when you're not keeping the wolf from the door, you have to take what's fucking on offer and do the gigs as well, you know what I mean? But it's just, I'd be more driven by, if you told me I could be doing a gig tomorrow in Vicar Street with a lovely audience there, a real listening audience kind of thing, and look, there's only 200 quid in it. Or you can go in now and play to a load of Oggy in Temple Bar, and we'll give you $1,000.
Yeah.
It's the 200 quid in Vicar Street all day long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's what I mean. It's about finding balance, isn't it, really? Because at some point, money is not going to fulfill you, and especially if you're a creative person, you want to kind of stretch that muscle and scratch that itch, and it's the kind of thing that some people are more financially driven. I'm probably less. I'm a bit more like you, and I'm not as financially driven, but Also, yeah, like you have to pay the bills, but
That's the other
once
side
the
of it.
bills are paid, I'd be more likely to try and do something that fulfills me.
When this podcast makes $1 million for you, lads, don't
That's when
forget
the yellow Lamborghinis, is it?
Yeah.
So the High Kings finished. So that was 2018 up until near COVID, was it?
Yeah, it was actually about 2020. Funnily enough, I bought my house, and I only just got the kind of mortgage approval and stuff over the line with the bank, and moved into the house. And then about 2 weeks later, COVID hit. And I'd still be at home with my mum and dad's today if it wasn't for that, because obviously
With the house prices and everything,
and then we were all out of work, and like musicians were the first to kind of stop working and the last to go back to work. So, I was crippled for a while there because I'd spent all my money on the deposit for the house, but at least I got it over the line, and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, that's when I kind of threw in the towel. And funnily enough, it was kind of coming up to the end of kind of 2019 that the High Kings were on a break, and I was kind of at home twiddling my thumbs.
And you went into is it the Kilmardini or
Well, the Kilmardini was after the fact. So the very first place I went to was the Comet, which is just around the corner. I went into the Comet, and I just said to the owner, I said, look, would you mind if I hosted a session here? And he was like, yeah, okay. I mean, if you want to put it up on social media, see how it goes, and just put the word out. If anyone sings, plays a song, plays an instrument, didn't matter if you were a beginner or a seasoned pro, like just turn up and we'll knock a bit of crack out of it. And that's kind of what gave birth to the Rising Suns, which is the new show that I'm on the road with now,
So, well, the Rising Suns. So actually, funny enough, I was doing a gig, and it was only last week. And I even said it to you, man. I even said you were coming on the podcast. A fella came in to me and he said, will you do Dublin Inspires by George Murphy?
That's
I was
delighted to hear that.
I was singing in the Merchant's Arch, and he came up to me and he said, will you do Dublin Inspires by George Murphy? And I said, do you know something? I said, I know the song. I said, I don't know how to play it on the guitar. I said, but I actually...
I'll teach you. You're going to know it by the end of the day.
I said, but I know George well. I said, he's actually coming on the podcast next week and all. He says, no way. He says, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's become our most streamed song, our most listened to song, and it's what I find lovely about it is, like, from all the time I've been on Spotify or social media or whatever, like, I've always kind of been more known for other people's songs or other Dublin songs, be it Raglan Road or The Rare Old Times or Dirty Old Town, all these kind of songs. When you finally have a song that's your own and it becomes like, that's what I mean about the creativity side of things. I'm hungry for that feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's lovely when people sing a song back to you, even if it's not yours. When you get a room full of people singing The Rare Old Times, like, it's a great feeling. But when you get a room full of people singing a song,
something you wrote,
and it's something that you sat down with a pen and paper, there's nothing like it.
Well, I'll tell you something. That's a beautiful song. But yourself, and he's actually a listener to the podcast. He listens every week. Is Thomas Goulding?
Oh yes, the Darndale song.
The Darndale to the States.
Yeah. So for anyone watching or listening, there was two young lads in Darndale in 1985 that their ma came out and said, listen, don't wander far, you'll be coming in for your tea shortly or whatever.
Did you hear this, Jim?
Yeah, I heard this story, yeah.
Left the streets of Darndale, managed to sneak onto the Dart, which was new at the time, took the Dart out as far as Dunleary, got off in Dunleary and then snuck onto a ferry at the port in Dunleary, managed to sneak onto a ferry, got off the ferry in Holyhead, more public transport, ended up in London Heathrow and snuck onto a fucking plane.
To New York.
Yeah.
I think someone sent me the article for it. Like, I read the article for that story.
So that was when they did the song. So
Thomas
Thomas
sent me on these lyrics, and I have to be honest, I've had so many people send me on lyrics and say, could you do something with these and turn it into a song? And more times than not, I kind of say no, not because some of the lyrics haven't been great, they've really been great, but the want inside me to write my own stuff is too great to kind of jump on board somebody else's stuff. But when I saw that story, it was always something that fascinated me anyway. So I got back onto Thomas. I was like, Thomas, listen, I love the story anyway, and I love what you've done with the lyrical content here. Would you mind if I tweak it a little bit and kind of change it around? And he said, absolutely, I'm just delighted that you're considering it. And so then when it was done, I was like, we need to do a bit more with this. So I ended up bringing the lyrics to an animator. And I asked them to turn it into a cartoon.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Like
it was brilliant.
You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it brings their whole journey to life.
Yeah. I haven't seen that.
Cool.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I remember hearing the story. It's something. It's like another thing that wouldn't happen today. People won't leave their kids alone for 15 minutes now. Now it's like, where's John gone?
Yeah.
The boys
He's in New York.
He's in New York. Is he out there?
So
you back for dinner?
I ended up putting the song up online, and Noel Murray, who was the older of the two boys, got tagged in it.
Yeah.
And he sent me a message saying, thanks for writing a song about me. Or I was like, no way. So I messaged him back, says, could you send me your number? I'll give you a ring. He sends me the number, gave him a bell, and I was just like, listen, I'm thinking of doing a studio version of this. At the time, it was just me busking it on Facebook or whatever. I said, I'm thinking of bringing it into the studio and recording it properly. But I just want to make sure that we have everything kind of accurately like depicted in the story. Is that kind of what happened? And he said, yeah, pretty much. I was like, how did you manage to get through all these places? He says, well, security wasn't as bad back then. I said, fucking hope not. But he says that what was it? He says that any time they encountered somebody looking for tickets or passports or whatever, he says they just point to the nearest woman and go, "That's me ma. She has them."
Yeah.
And then they got eyes and attention and go on to that, and they're gone.
Yeah,
just legged it. You know what I mean? And he said, he said they were apprehended in New York. They went up and asked an undercover policeman, "How do you get into town?"
How do you get into town?
Yeah.
How do you get into town?
Brought them to.
They were 8 or 10 or something. Weren't they?
10 and 12.
10 and 12.
And brought them to.
How do you get into town? New York.
It's mad. You know, and
Airport.
the fact that they went to Holyhead might have been the reason that they were able to do it, because in the 80s the Dublin airport was really strict with because of the IRA stuff. There was, I remember there used to be bomb checks on the way in and all this.
So you wouldn't,
you probably wouldn't be able to go that way. But what a story!
Unbelievable.
He says,
How did they get from Holyhead to Heathrow?
That's like the Irish version.
another train or another bus or something like that.
It's like the Irish version of that. What's that film? That Indian film where your man's on the boat with a tiger by himself. It's just like some.
The Life of Pi.
It's like an Irish version of that. Just some crazy adventure.
He said to me that they were put up for it. They had to go through processing and paperwork and all that stuff, and they were put up for a few days in New York until they could figure out what to do and get them on flights back to Dublin. Brought around to see the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, giving Burger King pizza, but on 24-hour watch, you know what I mean? But bring them,
100%. Wouldn't take the eye off them.
he says they put them on the plane home and gave them both the strawberry milkshake, right? He says he's convinced that the strawberry milkshake was laced with drugs, because he says the two of them swallowed the milkshake.
They woke up on Epstein Island and
they woke up back in Dublin. They just fell asleep and passed out for 8 hours or whatever it was. Which is, they were probably worried they were going to hijack the fucking plane.
That was the 80s. You could drug kids back then. A bit of whiskey was all right for a baby back in the 80s.
Mental.
Jesus Christ. I know, it's unbelievable, like, when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Really
something.
Are you doing a bit of writing?
Listen, I've written songs, but they're, like, nothing hectic, like. I do write and I do bits and pieces, but nothing, no.
Nothing hectic.
No, I'm doing about 27 gigs a month. Yeah. And I do it just.
Have you time to scratch yourself?
Just for the. I was going to say for the love of it, but not for the love of it. Just for something to do more than anything.
He wants the few pounds.
Yeah, I know he's one of the best crowd people I've ever seen. Philip.
I'm sure. I remember seeing him bursting back onto the scene with the Galway shawl a few years ago. I was thinking, fucking. But you were in Spain and stuff for years.
I was living in Qatar for years. I was living in Doha for years, and I do a lot in Germany, the Netherlands, and all that kind of crack. But like most of the stuff I do is just Temple Bar kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a serious appetite for it in Germany, like, as you know, like for Irish music. And
Germany's the second biggest music market in the world, I think, after America.
Right.
Something like that for buying music. I think that's what it is, or else it's.
But the likes of the Dubliners and stuff out there are like, that's their version of the fucking Beatles and stuff like that. That genre of music is huge. We haven't tapped enough into. Now, I have been invited over to Germany to play a couple of shows, and we're hoping to look into it in 2027. There was times where I was due to be going, but I've 2 babies at home now, and getting married this year as well.
Congratulations.
Giving up the freedom.
Congratulations.
But yeah, thank you. So there's been a few things that have gotten in the way of doing a European tour, but we're going over for Paddy just a couple of days before Paddy's Day. The Saturday before Paddy's Day falls on the 14th, and we're doing a venue in Lillehammer in Norway. And it's sold, 300 odd seat are sold out. And I'm like, it's mental, because I've never been there. We've never been there. Your man messages me from the venue and he says, listen, been playing some of your material here in the venue and it's going down really well with people. Will you come over and do a show? I was like, absolutely, I'll come over and do a show. and sold out. I'm like,
That's savage.
class.
So,
That's
it's
savage.
That's one of the
unbelievable, you know what I
kind
mean?
of the advantages of, you know, we talk about in the podcast a lot that it used to be music was marketed like there was a few people at the top, but now like it's so diluted that there's people who can make a good living, like who can find their lane and
Their
like,
niche
and
and
you can
stuff like
find
that.
like somebody who can send out a 500-seater venue in fucking Austria just because some place likes this, some resonates.
100%.
Yeah.
But also sometimes when something is too familiar, like to the point where, you know, I'm after selling a venue out, or my band are after selling a venue out over in Norway, there, place we've never been, at more difficulty than we would somewhere 10 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because in the place that's 10 minutes down the road, they're spoilt for choice when it comes to our kind of criteria or genre, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's coming into town, for example, to see some Irish music, they might pop into where Philip is playing, but then they might pop into where you're playing, or they might pop into where I'm playing. Whereas when we go over to Norway, we'll be the only act that's like us on the night, probably for miles. Do you know that way? So
Don't be telling them this, Joe.
well,
Don't
yeah,
be.
no, that's
Don't
it.
be, don't be.
We're great. I mean, we're great, and that they're coming to see us because we're the best.
There's no way you'll see a better band that night.
Yeah. No, but it's, you know, it's supply and demand. I mean, go back to the thing about the High Kings thing as well, right? So I was with them over in Nashville, and we played a venue in Nashville that was sold out. And when I was finished the gig, went out to a pub, and there was a guy on stage who was basically just playing for tips, right? And he was doing stuff with his fingers up and down the fretboards that like would make Jimi Hendrix feckin' jealous. You know what I mean? Sensational musician, like incredible, brilliant vocals as well. I was like, if you could just pick him up and drop him somewhere in Ireland, he'd be the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
But in Nashville, there's probably another 100 people like him as you go down the street.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So there we are up on stage, strumming 3 chords to Dirty Old Town, and there's 1,000 people in the fucking room going, "Oh my God, these guys are great!" You know what I mean? And yet they're ignoring the guy down the road who
it's
has
what you're
more
used to,
talent in his baby finger than I do. Do you know what I mean?
But it's also a matter of, it's a matter of being in the right place at the right time, having that X factor that people want to, that draws people in, and also having being like the having a uniqueness to yourself in the area that you are, like. So it always comes down to that. Absolutely. And we talk about it, like, you see a lot of times when you do the gigs in Temple Bar, like you'll finish the first couple of songs and it'll be like all the foreign people be like and look around and like, why isn't everybody clapping? You're like, no.
It doesn't work like that here.
It doesn't work like that here.
But I remember, so do you remember the big explosion in country music, in Irish country music? So I was singing this was 2010, I was singing in Praia da Rocha out in Portugal, singing in an Irish bar out there. And Derek Ryan was singing in a bar down the street. And Derek Ryan said he was going to go back to Ireland and do country music, and everybody laughed at him. Derek Ryan.
It's huge.
He was, by 2014, he was like, after Nathan Carter, he was the biggest thing. Like, it was him and Nathan Carter, that was it, by 2014. And I remember he was singing in Crow Park in the Irish bar down the street. And I remember him saying, "I'm going to go back and chance the country music." And I was like, will you get the fuck?
I'll give you one, right? So I was over in New York, and I heard Wagon Wheel by the Old Crow Medicine Show, right? And I was like, that is a tune. I was like, that's so catchy. Like, I fucking learned it in about 5 minutes again. It's another 3-chord trick. I was like, this is a winner.
Bob Dylan as well.
Yeah, started off as a Dylan tune. I think he was writing for a movie soundtrack that he starred in, actually, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And there was loads of songs that just were half written and ended up in the bin. Imagine going through his bin.
Oh.
But
one man's trash. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
but like, reckon Old Crow Medicine Show went through the bin, found that, and they rewrote the rest of the song. Anyway, I heard the song. I was like, this is class. And I fucking was doing it on me gigs over in New York then. I got on to the band Sparky and Dave Brown. If you ever go into...
No, the Black Donnellys. Yeah, of course,
he's the guy who broke the Guinness World Record in the Temple Bar. Anyway.
Him and Dave Rooney, wasn't it?
Yeah, and a few other... The Black Donnellys, yeah. But I got on to him and I just said, anyone playing Wagon Wheel over there? He was doing the Temple Bar scene at the time. He goes, Wagon Wheel? What's Wagon Wheel? Started singing it down the phone. He goes, never heard it. I was like, are you serious? And he says, yeah. I says, everyone over here is starting to latch onto it. And he says, all right, okay. He says, I'll give it a look. I says, I'm telling you, it's going to be the next Galway Girl. And in my head, like, Galway Girl was that song that was like, you know, recorded years ago, but re-recorded now and is going huge for Monday, you know what I mean? And fair play to him. I got on a plane, flew home to Dublin, went into studio and recorded our version of Wagon Wheel and had it all set to go, bells and whistles, fucking PR company hired, sending it out to radio stations. And then Nathan Carter's version dropped.
Jesus Christ.
I wanted to go off a fucking bridge, lads. I was fuming. I was fucking fuming. I was like, I wanted, Nathan, you can't do that. No, Nathan. No. Here, Nathan. No.
You're back here, Nathan. For fuck's sake.
Nathan.
You do one verse, I'll do the second verse, right?
I was fucking fuming. Back on the plane to New York with my tail between my legs.
That is one of those.
Caught me a train and I caught me a plane. And I said back in the US.
That's one of those songs where it becomes like a meme nearly. Anyone who does the gigs like in town, just like if someone.
Do you know Wagon Wheel?
If another musician comes in, they go play Wagon Wheel.
Yeah, but tapping back into that thing that I'm saying, like, I wouldn't say I hate the song. It'd be unfair to say I hate the song, but it becomes that thing of, oh my God, I've heard the fucking thing every bloody place I go. Yeah. Now I don't have an interest in playing. Yeah. Back then when I first heard it and it was cool and nobody knew it, I loved the bloody thing.
Oversaturated.
Then, and when that happens and you walk into a pub, that's what I mean. I don't have anything against these songs specifically. My thinking behind it is, so I done a gig there the other night in Mayo, right? And sometimes during a gig, I'll open up the floor and I'll say, does anyone have any requests? And you always get...
Wait, did I see this? You were in Belmullet.
Yes.
So there's Mayo.
Yeah.
And then there's 4.5 hours, and then there's Belmullet.
Yeah, it's next stop America, like.
Oh man, I remember one time I was in a wedding band. We were lightning strikes, and we were like, oh, we're doing a gig in Belmullet. So we get to Mayo, and I was like, oh, we're nearly there. Well, we fuck nearly there.
Got the Castlebar is a 3.5 hour spin on its own. Got there, and it's another hour and a half or whatever beyond that.
It's like going to my young fella has a match in Balbriggan on Sunday, which is in Dublin, but it's about an hour and a half away. You couldn't get any further 2 points.
You wouldn't be walking.
No, you wouldn't be fucking
but yeah, no. So out to Belmullet for the gig, right? Open up the floor, and somebody shouted up for Grace, right? Now the other requests that came in, like I didn't do Grace, and after the gig, the guy kind of pulled me. So he said, I have to ask you, he says, why didn't you do Grace? And I said to him, right? I said, look, love the song, brilliant song about like such a thing that happened in Irish history, like a wonderful kind of memory for people to have, that this woman married a man before he was executed, and you know, beautiful thing and sentiment and all of that thing. I said, but
it's been hijacked.
Yeah, well, I said, you're after spending €30 to come here tonight and hear me sing, right? And I take pride in the fact that I might be the only person in Ireland today that sang a certain song. Whereas, if I sing Grace, I'm going to leave here, and in 2 minutes down the road, when I go for a pint, whoever's playing in the pub I go to is going to sing Grace. And if we move on to the next pub, they're all going to sing Grace. I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I said, but if you're paying €30, you should be getting something different. You shouldn't be getting the same thing that you get in every pub that you go to. If you're paying money to come and see it, it should tick a different box, at least in my opinion. So I would rather sing the songs that you don't hear every day, because if you pay in to see me for 30 quid and I give you Grace and I give you Ride On and I give you Dirty Old Town and I give you Wild Rover, then why didn't you just stay in the fucking pub and listen to the pub singer, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense, yeah. There's definitely
it's
logic
fair.
to it. And there's not as many songs now that get that oversaturation now, because I think a lot of people...
Country roads.
Well, I mean, all those
classic.
Those classics do, of course. But I'm saying new songs don't really get... They don't, because it's so diluted now. I mean, Killer, you could say, is a bit oversaturated.
Killer.
I think the last one that I can remember, an Irish one, was Take Me to Church, Hosier. I mean, I love that song. Such a great song. But after I heard it a million times, I was like... I cannot listen to this.
Enough, though, I haven't heard that many people doing it in the pubs. Like, no. but you'd hear that on the radio an awful lot and stuff.
The big one last year for me was Pink Pony Club.
Or what was
See,
that?
I've hardly, like, I played that at gigs, and I don't think I've maybe listened to
Stick Season or something.
Stick Season was massive as well.
That was big on social media, but it's not like social media is more it's not like being played into you. You can swipe past it as well. Like if it's on the radio and being played like on rotation every hour, twice an hour, then it gets a bit oversaturated.
Ed Sheeran kind of doesn't do it for me anymore, and it's not for me to say that I don't think he's a brilliant songwriter or I don't think he's a brilliant talent and pop artist and deserves all the success he got. Fair play to him, well done. But I just want to get into the car and turn on the radio without hearing them just once.
Exactly.
Once,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah. So it's a small group for the like on the radio kind of thing, but it's much more.
One of Jim's mates is with him now, Aaron Rowe. He's with.
Yeah,
Aaron's he is class.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Aaron is brilliant. So I first heard Hey Ma, and I remember diving on it on Spotify, and literally the streams were in the hundreds at the time.
Yeah.
And I was sharing it on to everybody. He's the real fucking deal.
No, he did the Temple Bar for years. He's
class.
10 years younger than me, and he started doing that at the same time. Like
he's brilliant.
He's brilliant. Yeah,
he's brilliant.
No, he's doing great, and he's supposed to come on the podcast. We'll get him on.
Everything he's going to put out as well is.
Oh no, it's solid. It's solid. He's class. He's class.
He's very good.
He's in Australia at the minute. He's with Ed at the minute.
I think he's doing a few of his own shows.
He's on the Loop tour at the minute.
And he's doing
Capaldi as well,
isn't he?
Yeah.
Fair play to him.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. He's definitely rubbing shoulders with the right people.
Yeah, he's with the right people, and he seems to be getting advised and pushed by the right people. And even the way they kind of record and produce his music, it's focused around his voice.
But I remember, and it's probably. Is it a year ago? Just over a year ago. Because he was doing the Dame Tavern on a Friday night. And he was doing somewhere up in Camden Street on a Saturday night. And he finished that gig. I think it was Tucker Riley's or something, or Devitt's or something. And he was looking for another regular Saturday gig. And I remember he put up, he's looking for a regular Saturday or whatever. It's not even a year ago. Well, maybe just over a year ago. Now he's on the Loop tour selling out.
You have to be in the right place at the right time, and you have to have that, the what's for you won't pass you by, or your missus has to miss the bus, or it has to be something like that gets you to that thing, and then once you have the talent as well, 100%. People can see it then once you get the platform to show people.
I remember seeing one of his videos online, and I ended up reaching out to him, sent him a message, and just said, Aaron, don't know you, but loving the vibes, loving the tunes or whatever. I said, I've got a few gigs coming up on my tour. I said, and we're looking for special guests in certain venues. We're going to be doing Vicar Street. Would you come along and do it? He says, I'd absolutely love to, George. I was like, deadly. He's going to be a great special guest, whatever. And then as it was coming closer to the time, I was like, listen, you're going to have to speak to my management. I was like, what? I was like, I know what that means.
Have your people talk to my people.
And I was like, fuck.
So Jim, you were at his birthday party a month ago.
We were at his 30th there a few months ago. It was great crack.
And Jim and Jim says, who? Oh, Garen landed.
Garen Noone, yeah.
But Jim says to him, will you come to the podcast or whatever? He's like, yeah, I'll do it 100%. He's like, I'll do it in January. But then January came when now he's on tour with Ed Sheeran.
So, but that's it. I mean, I'm delighted for him because he's hit the kind of peak of where I think he deserves to be. Yeah. But when you're somewhere and you're kind of hoping that to get a piece of them on the way up,
it'd be great for our podcast to have him on for sure.
I remember getting on that there was one other guy I got on to who blew up as well, right? So Scotland were going for their independence, right? And
Hope Over Fear.
Yeah. So when I saw
tell Westminster stories, Scotland won't be. Man, honest to God,
I
Carpe Diem. The first time I ever seen it, I was like, that boy's going to be massive.
Yeah. So I messaged him, and I say this like I was on messaging everybody.
That was on Facebook. It was on Facebook, and it was on the dodgiest. This is years ago.
Yeah.
And it was on the dodgiest little camera video I've ever seen in my life.
In his bedroom, and I messaged him, and I was like, Jerry. Love your song, love the patriotism behind it. Hope the Yes vote goes for yous. Best of luck if you're ever over in Ireland, whatever. He follows me on Facebook then. We're keeping in touch. I was telling him about gigs I had. He says, I'll come over to Ireland at some stage and we'll hang out and we'll do a gig. Bang. Blows up into like one of Europe's biggest selling artists, Jerry Cinnamon. So and then of course you try to reach out. It's like you get the generic response. If you want to talk to Jerry Cinnamon, you need to reach out to this guy. Fuck off.
Because I remember a couple of my friends are Scottish, and I sent it to them, and I was like, "This is unbelievable." They were like, "Yeah, that was a whole lot." They were like, "Who is he?" I was like, "I don't know who he is. Somebody in his bedroom singing Hope Over Fear." Then a few years later, Jerry Cinnamon. I was like, "Fuck off."
But apparently he was getting brought around to all of the Yes vote rallies. And they were putting them in front of like thousands of people that wanted to vote yes. and he was singing that song everywhere he went, and then people were like, "Your man's deadly," and they started checking out
But
some of his other stuff, and then he dropped an EP.
it's the same with
The
your man.
songs are great, though.
Same
The
with your
songs
man
are great,
Jimmy.
but if you listen to that first EP of his, the mix and all is terrible of him. Like the actual from a frequency point of view, it sounds terrible. When you see
raw,
him,
like,
when you
it's
see
very
him
raw.
live, like it sounds amazing.
I know, like,
but when
when
you
you
listen to it like on Spotify, when I do anyway, it just sounds really muddy or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like getting in front
He
of
was
those.
doing a lot of it himself
Yeah.
as well, though.
Yeah,
You know?
But it
so,
happens
yeah.
with them boys. Your man Jamie Webster, the boy that does all the Liverpool stuff.
Yeah.
Like he just goes out and sings like he's a number 4, all these Liverpool mad shite songs, and he just blew up then with his own stuff just because he has a Liverpool following.
Yeah.
If you get your following in something like
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you can attach your wagon to some other
Demographic.
bigger thing, yeah.
just like to say, two boys are Man United fans.
We're back,
On
baby.
the Reds.
We're back.
I'm not.
Well, he's an
Are
Arsenal
you
fan.
an Arsenal?
Yeah.
They're going to bottle it
We,
again.
no, we're not. Not
They
at
are
all.
definitely.
Not at all. Not at all.
You don't drop points to Wolves.
Not. I know, but come on, boys. Everybody's getting a bit. It was a worldie. It
You
was a
did well.
worldie.
You won the last game. I'll give you.
Yeah, you did bounce back against Spurs, but it's in City's hands, and you don't want it being in City's hands. They can, if they win all their games, they win the league, and they're well able to go and win all their games.
So George, tell me, what have you coming up?
So,
Have you the TF, or did I see the TF somewhere?
TF has
in
been
Castlebar?
added, yeah. So it's kind of after the tour, but it's still part of the same tour. So I'm getting married in between, so there'll be a few weeks kind of taken off in between. But I sat down with this kind of investor guy, same guy that pulled Conor Moore out of the seat in the Late Late Show and got him to do a video with me. But like, he doesn't, if I'm honest, he doesn't know much about music, but he wants to invest in the idea that I have. And he's putting his money where his mouth is, in fairness to him. So I sat down with him and his team of marketing kind of experts, and they kind of said, what do you think it is yourself and your band can offer that is maybe different or differentiates you from other bands that are...
selling point and all that.
Exactly. So I said, the fact that we're born out of a session and that we still put on our weekly session, and yet we've gone to Vicar Street and sold it out, but then we're still in the pub playing our weekly thing. I says, but if we can capture that vibe of the pub, because when we're in Vicar Street, it's a stand-up show, right? It's a stand-up concert, and they've gone really well. We've done Vicar Street, Cork Opera House, and venues of that ilk, but I want to capture the vibe that we have when we're in the pub. And he's like, okay, but how do we do that on a large scale? So the concept that I kind of put to them was, we go into all of these big function rooms around the country, and we put the stage smack bang
In the middle.
of the room, right? And you put the audience 360 degrees around us. We trialled it last 2 weeks ago in the Bonington. There was about 700 people there, and it was amazing. Just from the vibe, like self-praise is no praise and all that, but like just the vibe of having people all around you. And then we were on like the kind of, the Britney Spears mics, and the
Garth Brookses.
Yeah, the Garth Brookses. And
Walking to every corner and going.
yeah, but that's we were able to go out and join the audience, and we brought in pub tables and pub stools so that it felt a bit more informal, like beer mats on these round tables and the pub stools. And we went out, like, and Betty Kelly, who's Luke Kelly's sister, was there, and I was able to just sit down beside her and do a song, and then get up and go around here, and everybody got a better view, because even if you were at the back of the room, you were still way closer to the stage because it was in the middle.
Yeah.
And, the only thing that we needed to kind of figure out was there's times where the audience are just looking at your arse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you needed to make sure to turn around and kind of play for the people that are there as well.
Would you have like somebody say, this is your main part of the stage, is face that way?
Yeah.
This is your, like, get one person, you're going to mainly go there, and then we can swap around. But when I go there, like football, when I go there, you have to fill in.
Move. Exactly, yeah. So we were trying to kind of chop and change and move around it. And we had a table, we had it set up like we were playing a session, and we were having points and stuff like that on the stage, and people were just at ease and getting involved in it and being able to walk around the room. And he saw the concept of it. He says, we'll roll the dice on it. And then he saw it. He says, right, we're taking this all over the country. So we've booked now 12 dates.
When does it start?
The 23rd of May in Mullingar Park Hotel, and it finishes back in the Bonington Hotel on the 27th of June. Then I head off to get married, and then I'm heading to Castlebar.
Good stuff.
You can find out, I'm sure you have the tour dates.
Yeah, so it's all on georgemurphymusic.com. And if you just want to come along on any of the nights, lads, it's only €40.
It's 50 for us.
No, I'll organise guest list, come along and do an old tune with me, Philip. Take a night off in Temple Bar and come up and do a couple of tunes with us. And,
well, I did say I'll definitely get over to the session at some stage.
Yeah, you should.
Have you ever had because I know Brendan Gleeson lives around there, and I think he plays a few sessions up around the north side. I think sometimes on the fiddle. Yeah.
Jesus, now if I could.
Jeez, he'd be some man to get in.
I'd love to get bleeding Brendan, even just to sit with him. I'd say it'd be good crack. Yeah. Seeing him doing he done that song that Dirty Farrell wrote, the Point of Plane. It's your only man, your only man. The point of plane is your only man. It's great. He done that on the Late Late. He was deadly. But yeah, no, he's some man, Brendan Gleeson.
He's a good fiddler.
The Irish acting in general is blowing up as well. The Irish traditional music and acting is like the Irish entertainment's gone huge everywhere worldwide. Won a few Oscars and all that recently, didn't he?
So Jesse Buckley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. Just when you were saying about the pub session thing there's a very good video I saw of you. I think it was at Pete St. John's funeral. Yeah. Yourself and Glenn Hansard were doing.
The Rare Old Times.
The Rare Old Times. But it was lovely.
Yeah, no, it was a nice vibe. See, the pub
it wasn't the Gravediggers, was it? Or where was it?
The Beaumont House.
Oh, the Beaumont House.
So that's where I do the Monday session, right? But my ma has worked in there since I was in nappies. Right. And like she started off just kind of in the kitchen, cleaning dishes, stuff like that. She's now kind of the accountant. But she's been in there for 30 years. So I've been going in there since I finished school as a nipper. And I remember Pete St. John being in there. He referred to the place as his office. Right. So he'd go in there, he'd have his food, he'd take business meetings, business calls, and he'd done kind of everything in there. And when he passed away, they've now made a kind of a corner for him in there, and they have his bust like in a shrine, and all his songs kind of in frames around the bust. It's lovely. So when he passed away, it was arranged that we would all go there, and one of his best friends, a guy by the name of Brian Forlong.
Oh, he was very upset. I seen videos. Yeah,
everyone knew him as the Furrier, but I knew the Furrier since I was a kid as well. Himself and my dad went to school together, grew up together, and he was the man that kicked off the Monday night sessions with me and Declan Parsons. He passed away last year, and it's that same vibe of all those same people coming together in the same location to kind of, and now we're doing it on a weekly basis, and it's songs to remember Pete St. John, to remember Brian Forlong, and to remember, and it's what's lovely about it is people just wander in and sit down and play with us. I mean, last week Mickey Joe turned up.
Oh, did he? Yeah,
he just arrived in and sat down. I got talking to him, and he came along and fucking sang a few songs. I
haven't seen Mickey Joe in years.
No, but he was great, and he just sat
very
down.
Talented man.
Oh my God, what a writer, what a performer.
Mickey Joe Hart is he's a superb talent.
Yeah, brilliant. Really is.
He was big. He won the thing.
He won it the first year. Yeah, we've got the world tonight.
Yeah. And yet, that's not one of the ones he wrote. Some of the stuff he's written is better than that, in my opinion, anyway. But that was Jesus. That took the world by storm, didn't it? That one.
Because I remember he had that image, and I remember one time he sat down on a chair and he picked up a guitar and he did a Skunk and Nancy song. I remember sitting listening to him.
Because you're rich.
I was listening. I was sitting there looking, going, "This boy is unbelievable."
Yeah, he's class. He is
class. But yeah, so the Monday night sessions are there. They're in the Beaumont House, are they?
Monday nights in the Beaumont House. Then some of the lads out of Rising Sons do every second Thursday in the Whitehall Columkill Clubhouse. Okay. Finest pint of Guinness on the north side, folks. So yeah, and
the Gravediggers coming at you with that pitchfork.
Praise indeed.
Well, no, it's probably second to the Gravediggers. To be fair, Gravediggers is, but that's all they pull in there, like
yeah.
You won't hear any singing in there.
I still think the best pint of Guinness in Dublin is in Bowes. I think
that's the best one we had. We went for a scientific night out to see where we could find the best pint.
Just went pub and drinking Guinness, and Bowes was animal.
Bowes was pretty tasty, yeah.
Animal.
Bowes was good.
But so we'll try and get down definitely at some stage.
Yeah, we'll just wrap this up and go for some Guinness.
100%.
Good night and God bless, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
But so that's the Monday night session. Is there anything else that?
No, just the tour in the round, and I really do believe it's going to be a spectacle that's unlike anything else that's out there at the moment. So at least that's what we're hanging our hat on at the moment. There is one other cool thing that we've kind of done actually is I got albums printed up, the new album that we've recorded. So we kind of set a goal for ourselves, myself and the Rising Sons, that we would one day play Dublin's Vicar Street and one day we'd record a studio album. And the very first time we played Vicar Street was the day we released the studio album. So we kind of ticked the 2 boxes in the one day. But it sold out of physical copies, so I ordered a new batch of copies. But I asked your man in making them up to leave 20 of them without vocals on it. Right?
Right.
So what we're doing is we don't know which one of the... Now, I took a few of them out and I did find there's definitely 20 in there that don't have vocals on it. Now, the rest, the tracks are all there. Yeah. The backing vocals are there, everything, but the lead vocal is gone, right? So if you buy one of the albums that doesn't have the vocals on it, we have to turn up to your gaff or your pub or your local or wherever you want.
That's
like a Willy Wonka thing.
Yeah.
It's like a Willy Wonka thing.
Yeah. So we have to turn up and do it. So that's what we're kind of...
That's savage.
It's a little bit of promo kind of.
That's
so
class.
you heard it here first, folks. Get on the album,
Buy the album.
and if we send it
Buy
out...
7 of them. You'll
exactly.
You
get one.
7 of them.
You get one chocolate bar with a gold ticket. But yeah,
if you get one without vocals, you have to bring your granddad to the factory.
There was a guy actually on to me today. He's after getting one in Galway. But the one thing about
Slugworth.
it is... So he got one in Galway, right? And he says to me, so come here, I was wondering, it's me nephew's christening... on the 24th of... I was like, hang on a minute here, pal. Well, not. I says, we'll turn up when it fucking suits us. Well, you're not just getting us booked for your fucking nephew's christening because you bought an album, you bollocks. It doesn't work like that. But no, what we're going to try and do is, whoever picks up an album, like if it's in Cork or something like that, and we're on the way to Cork, which we will be, then we will drop in and see that person either the day before or the evening before or something like that. Yeah. And we'll try and tie it in, and we'll come down, and whether it's in your local... or in your house, or in your sitting room, or whatever, have the kettle on, Lions tea.
Lions tea.
I'm a Man United fan and a Lions fan.
Buy that album. Get on that album right now. GeorgeMurphyMusic.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And the album is Something Out of Nothing.
Something Out of Nothing.
And is there a name for the tour you're having around, or are you...
it's just the Ultimate Session.
The Ultimate Session.
The Ultimate Session tour.
So look out for that, folks. Yeah. We're looking
Good
forward.
stuff.
We'll definitely come along.
You do, and get up and do an old tune with us or something.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much for tuning in to Jim and Philip's Temple Bard session. Good night, folks.
So that's it for episode 67 of the Temple Bard podcast with me, Jim Wynn, and Philip Noone. Thanks again to George Murphy for coming.
Unbelievable. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, lads. It was a lovely, spontaneous chat, which is always nice.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. So get on to George and follow him for all the details about the touring, the albums, and everything else. And that's it for this episode. Get involved. We'll see you the next one. Stay bells. Sláinte. Yep.